Hey everybody, I am your host, Joe JDF Foster, and today I'm going to discuss my favorite. I'm going to talk about the show Pokemon, and I'm going to discuss my favorite Pokemon themes, as well as all of the English versions of the Pokemon themes that I've heard, or I could find on YouTube, where I could see the openings to them that they were used with. And I'm also going to discuss at the end of the video my top 10 favorite Pokemon and the reason why. And most of them, I will admit, are based off of what I saw in the animated series, though some are based off of other reasons. Like I said, I'll get to those when I get to them. And one of the reasons I wanted to discuss Pokemon is because they're getting ready, on Netflix, they're getting ready to release this week or next one. They're supposed to be releasing a redone version of Pokemon, of Pokemon the first movie, that they're calling Pokemon Pokemon the movie Evolution. And something I find interesting is that when you look it up, place is credited as being the 22nd film in the series, but admit that it is a remake of the first one. So to me, this raises the question of how can it be a new film when it's just a remake of the original? To me, that's just updating, and I can understand that, but you shouldn't consider it a separate film when you do that, in my view. Now, with these Pokemon themes, I may also discuss other things such as what I noticed in the series or something about the series in that season. So, just to let you know ahead of time. I'll start off with the first Pokemon theme, which was actually entitled Pokemon. And it was Season 1, which is the Kanto region, which is the starter in most games. The Fire Red, Leaf Green, I think is what they were. But it's episodes 1 through 80 in the series. And amazingly, this song is actually one of the most remembered themes for TV shows. And not just by kids, but by adults too, because, in my view, it's because it's actually a very catchy song, and it's not something that was just thrown together for a show. Also, an interesting fact about the show, as many seasons it's gone through, which I think it's getting ready to come upon its 23rd season, with the upcoming Shield and Sword series starting up. Just to make sure. Oh, I'm sorry. I take it back. It's coming up on its 24th season. And what's interesting is it doesn't have as many episodes as It doesn't have as many episodes as One Piece does. But at the same time, this could be because when they originally did the series, the original 80 episodes, or the original Kanto region of the Pokemon, showing it going all the way to the end, when he actually participated in the first Pokemon League Championships, the show was not expected to get past its first season. The creator admitted this. The creator also admitted that for those fans who put up the arguments of who should Ash be with, it was actually stated that due to them not thinking it was going to go past the first season, Misty was actually supposed to be Ash's love interest. So it actually fit in with my theory, oddly enough. But to those who have their own opinion, I'd like to hear who you think Ash should be with from the series, if you actually watch it still, or from when you did watch it. Leave it in the comments. The song itself, it shows friendship, competition, and the strength for one to become better and believe in themselves all in one, by them wanting to be the best and willing to accept any challenge in the fight. But it's also showing the friendship by talking about how I care for you, you care for me, or I teach you, you teach me. And it talks about how they're going to take on anybody, which is the competition and the strength. But it talks about how their bond is going to make them stronger and better. Another thing I noticed is that while the song has a specific sound to it, which is a very rock sound to it. The video, the clips it uses are shown from different episodes, and some of them are scenes they just threw in for the opening video they didn't even have in the actual show. But they fit together nicely, and the song draws you in and makes you want to see at least what it's got. And this personally is, and we'll get back to that in a minute. Number 2, Season 2, which is episodes 81 through 116 in the series, is what's known as the Orange Islands episodes. It's an introduction also to one of the balls. I ain't sure if it's the... I want to say it's the GS ball. It might be the Master Ball. But during this part, Brock leaves the group where it's just Misty and Ash when it first starts. But at the same time, they later get a friend named Tracy, who's a Pokemon sketch artist. And see, there's something that's always caught my attention that happened in this one that people seem to forget. People talk about how Ash never won the competitions, never won an actual tournament in the series until recently, apparently. I haven't seen the Ultra Legends thing to confirm this. It's true or not. But in the Orange Islands, Ash actually won a tournament that was held there, that they hold annually, so it's not just some random competition they had. Ash won it, and even has a trophy that states that he won it. So this raises the question to me of how can people say that he never won any of the competitions or tournaments when it's clearly seen in Season 2 that he did. And when when the Orange Islands was coming to an end, it had Tracy stay with Professor Oak while Brock rejoined the group for their next journey. The song itself is called Pokemon World, and it takes on more of a rap sound with a little bit of a rock thrown in, which actually reminded me more of the Pokemon rap song that was used at the end of the original season when they try to go through each of the Pokemon at a certain number and try to get through them all. Or if you listen to the Pokemon soundtracks, I forget which ones it is. Which ones have it, but they actually have the Pokemon rap all the way through. And if you listen to it, it's got the rap and rock sound too. It's got where it raps when they're singing the different types of Pokemon. But during Pokemon World, in general, it used the rap more than it did the rock. The rock was more of a backup to it, same as in the Pokemon rap song, which is why it reminded me of that. The video to this actually fits better than the original because it shows different Pokemon, and the idea of being the best isn't necessarily knowing your own Pokemon, but knowing all Pokemon and getting to know others as well. Now we move on to Season 3's theme, which was episodes 116 through 157. Season 3 is what's known as the Johto Journeys. The title of the song is Pokemon Johto. It was the start of the Johto. While Johto would last 3 seasons, the song for Johto Journeys was only used for Season 3, and it's more peppy than the first 2, and there's no rap to this one, so it tries to go back to the original in that aspect. But this one has more of a pop rock mix to it. The video was more fitting than the previous ones because the lyrics almost matched perfectly to the song. To the video clips being shown. Though there were some things that were still shown that were separate from the song lyrics. Season 4 was Born to be a Winner. The season's title was Johto League Champions, and it's episodes 158 through 209. This one was more rock sounding than the previous ones, and it even used, in the opening lyrics to it, are actually the lines from the first song, where it talks about wanting to be the best that there ever was. It's got a faster sound than normal rock, but works more toward the song as it works more towards working a person up or getting them ready to fight in some ways. Almost like a training song. Much like the Rocky theme song, Gonna Fly Now, or Eye of the Tiger from Rocky 3. Season 5 was known as Master Quest, and it's the final part of the Johto journeys, where Ash actually competes in the tournament. And this is, what's interesting is this one, when it does the battles in the tournament, one of the trainers is actually from a future region used, called, from the next season's region used, which was the Hoenn region, because they actually use a character known as Blaziken, which I used to make fun of, translating it as, making fun of it by calling it the same as some people did the Trans Am, a fire-spitting chicken. Which, it was a fire type, and it was a chicken. But it was a Kung Fu style. I think it was Kung Fu that it practiced. I'm not sure. On the martial arts that it practiced. And David Rolfe, who did the previous theme song, Season 4's, returned to do this one also. The sound of the song is heavy rock, and it almost reflects Street Fighter 2. If you look at Street Fighter 2 character Ken, his stage, and Ryu, I'm sorry, the pronunciation on that, I'm wrong somewhere on it, I'm just not sure which, is reflective of this. It matches in my mind to what it is, because it's one of those where it's more about the training, and even in the video, it matches up in this idea that, because it shows Ash running up some stairs while showing Pokemon battling, but like I said, it also shows him run upstairs towards the stadium as if he's trying to reach his dream and to prove his self-worth in the process. Which, if you played Street Fighter and looked at Ken and Ryu, like I said, I forget how you pronounce them correctly, their backgrounds, they see themselves as rivals, but they're also best friends. So it's a way of showing they're better, at the same time trying to make it to the top and prove they're the best in the world, of which there can only be one of. Season 6 used the theme I Want to Be a Hero, episodes 274 through 313. And this was the first season to take place in Hoenn. It was known as Pokemon Advanced. It also introduces us, instead of to Misty, as she left in the last one, though she would return as a guest spot. She would return for a guest spot here. Brock would stay, but it introduces to May and her brother Max. And what's interesting is when we're introduced to May, we get a similar introduction as we did with Pikachu. As we did with Misty in Season 1, where Ash ends up destroying her bike due to Pikachu's electricity attacks. But one of the things about it is, while it didn't start out with Brock there, Brock initially wasn't going to travel with him, but he was going to go somewhere else, and they eventually come upon him in it. This was actually one of the few songs in the Pokemon franchise I can't stand, because it seems like it had nothing to do with the series, and it was thrown in just to give the show a new song. And it also seemed like it was more fitting to a fighting or hero type anime than this one. All they did really was throw in the Pokemon Advanced words to it. Just threw in Pokemon Advanced. The video didn't really fit to the song either, but tried to as best it could, given that the song really had nothing to do with it. So it just tried to match up timing with the song. Season 7, This Dream, is episodes 314 to 365. They're still in Hoenn. The season's known as Advanced Challenge. It went back to the rock style it was used at the beginning and in Season 5's Believe in Me theme. Similar to those. It speaks about the trainer and the Pokemon alike, even though the opening lines specifically reference the trainer. And the video is more reflective and fitting to the song lyrics than prior. If you watch, you'll see it. Talks about how the battle may be long and things like that, and how this dream won't end. And it shows each of them, and it matches up nicely with it. Season 8, episodes 366 through 417, is Advanced Battle. This would be the last one David Rolfe, who had been doing the music since Season 4, would do. Which means that he had, and what's interesting is that even with the later artists that did the songs, David Rolfe, and I'm probably mispronouncing his name as well, actually had the most theme song vocals of anybody in the series. The video's more fitting to the... the song's more fitting as it's not... but it does the rock sound and it fits along with the video. It ties to the video nicely. And this song reflects more of what Johto Journey Season 3 did, where it's got more of a peppy sound to it. Season 9, The Battle Frontier, episodes 418 through 464. The title of the song is even Battle Frontier. A lot of these I noticed had this. The title of the song was actually the title for the season as well. This would be the last season in Hoenn, and also the last season that May would be a main character, though she does make appearance in later seasons. It starts off soft, but builds towards the strength of the song. The video seems to be a mix of fitting and unfitting, though it's more that it didn't fit with the actual lyrics, but more just they threw images together. Season 10 is Diamond and Pearl, 465 through 515. It's the journeys that started in Sinnoh. This is where we're introduced to Dawn. And this season was known as Diamond and Pearl. As I stated, a lot of these seem to reflect like that. It tries for a techno sound with rock, but it's not that great a song, actually, due to that reason, because trying to mix a dance beat with a rock song doesn't really work all that well. There's plenty of songs you can look up and see that it doesn't, though I will admit there are some where it has worked. The video tries to reflect lyrics, but due to the song itself not being all that great, it doesn't do so well with it. So the job isn't really that great. The video isn't worth that much. And Season 11 is We Will Be Heroes, 516 to 567. And it has... and the title for the 11th season was Battle Dimension. I really enjoyed the song, and it reflects friendship and strengthens the bonds between people as well as the Pokemon and the trainer, and Pokemon as well. The video doesn't match to it, but it's nicely done. Season 12 is Galactic Battles, but the theme is called Battle Cry, parentheses, Stand Up. The song reflects the tough choices of life and how it can be hard at times because you have to choose one road and you got the road not traveled in the process. The video is not reflective, but just random shots, really. So I can't really say much for that. Season 13 is called Sinnoh. Season 13 is the Sinnoh League Victors. and the song title is We Will Carry On, episodes 620 through 653. The song speaks about different types of people and how they're connected, almost comparing to life. The video does well at keeping up with the lyrics for the most part, though there are some places where it fails. I like the drum beginning to this one to get our attention, and then leads into the rest of the music with the lyrics as it goes along. And this would also be the last season to take place in the Hoenn. Also, if I remember correctly, this is the last season we get Brock as a regular, as he goes on to study to become a Pokemon doctor. Though he does make future appearances as a guest. He does make future guest appearances in his studying to be a doctor and training. Season 14 is known as Black and White, and that's also the title of the song. We're introduced to Iris in this season, who wants to be a specialized type of trainer and only train in dragon-type Pokemon. The song reflects how there are shades of gray in life, but uses the title of the show in it instead, such as saying that things aren't always black or white, and throws in other things as well. The song had nice lyrics, but the sound to it wasn't all that great, in my opinion. And the video didn't match or make a lot of sense either. It basically just took 3D style imaging for it, or what I call 3D style imaging. I'm not actually sure if that's what it is. I may have that wrong. But it's one where they try to make it look more realistic, but it wasn't really all that great in itself either because it didn't match, because it didn't really work. And season 14, where this song takes place, Black and White, is the beginning of the Unova region. Rival Destinies is season 15, which is also the name of the song, Rival Destinies. And this is episode 702 through 750. It goes back to the rock sound and is really amazing. It has a nice duet, unlike the prior seasons, where they were mostly just singles singing and somehow tried to make it sound like a duet at times. The video did nice at matching for the most parts of the lyrics. I'm sorry, you're not going to get one that I can tell that's 100%, but this one came really close in the way it was done. Season 16 is the last of the Unova region, and it's entitled Adventures in Unova. And the song title is It's Always You and Me, episodes 751 through 795. This one takes on more of a dance song than previous songs, though it does hold some rock and pop traces to it. It's also the last season we'll see Iris and I forget the guy's name in this one, unless they do guest spots in future episodes, which I don't recall any in the Alola, though they may have in between the two, and I just don't remember it. Or they may have some in the upcoming seasons, as Pokemon does tend to have a habit of previous main stars coming back to be guest stars. The song was nice, but the video did not match to it at all. Season 17 is the original Pokemon theme redone. The title of the series is now Pokemon XY. The song is actually entitled Pokemon Theme Version XY. And it's episodes 796 through 843. In this season, we're introduced to Serena, who knew Ash from when they were younger, as well as Clement, a gym leader, who has a habit of going on scientific type moments and introducing these ideas and having them work, though they tend to blow up in his face. Clement also has a younger sister who's a lot like Brock was in the previous seasons, only instead of trying to get trying to fall in love with somebody herself and doing that, she's actually trying to get her brother into a relationship with somebody by asking them, will you take care of my brother, when she meets him, if she finds him really pretty. And it gets really interesting in that reason, because instead of the boy being girl crazy, like Brock was, it's the girl trying to set her brother up, and the brother's actually having to pull a Misty to try and protect himself. The song used is more of a dance style of the original theme, but in this case it actually worked. Because it was actually nicely done, but it wasn't all that great. But it was still nice to see a remake of it that actually works out. Because I've heard another version, because back when the original one was done, they had a version of it that was done dance-wise. Really didn't work out. And this was the first season to take place in the Kalos. Again, I'm probably mispronouncing it, but I know it's either Kalos or Kalos region. The video, not as good a fit to the lyrics, though it was nicely edited. Season 18 is Be a Hero, still entitled Pokemon the Series XY. And which I find kind of interesting that they didn't do anything about. They just called it XY instead of calling the first season Pokemon X, and then calling this one XY. They just called both seasons XY and changed the theme for the second season of it. But like I said, this one was entitled Be a Hero, and it's 8:44 to 8:88. The song's still a dance, but it tries to throw in rock music to it. Doesn't really work all that nicely. The video is actually nicely edited to match with the lyrics, or be as close to it as it can. Season 19, which is the last season to deal with the with this particular region, the Kalos region, is called. The season was called Pokemon XYZ. The theme is entitled Stand Tall, and it's episodes 889 through 935. And this one, and this is a spoiler for those of you who haven't seen it, and I apologize for that, but if you want, skip ahead a little bit. Anyways, Serena gains the courage in this one at the end to actually give Ash a kiss, showing how much she cared for him, and leaving an opening to the argument of who's actually the right girl for Ash. While I still believe Misty, others have their opinions, and Serena I could actually see as a second option to it, as she knew Ash when they were little, and she actually does genuinely care for him in that way. The song takes on a rock sound and less of a dance. The video doesn't really match and is just random clips thrown together. But like I said, that was the end of the Kalos region, or Kalos. I'm sorry for mispronouncing these. Even though I watched them, I tend to forget. Now for Pokemon Season 20, which takes place in a new region known as the Alola region. The title of the first season there, which is Season 20, is Sun and Moon. The title of the song is Under the Alolan Sun, episodes 936 through 978. Like I said, we get introduced to the Alolan region in this, and what's interesting to me is that this one, when they talked about the Alolan region and how they show it on the anime, it actually reminds me more of Hawaii that's pictured in movies and pictures than anything. So, made me wonder if there was actually a region in Asia they were using, or if Hawaii was their actual plan for this one. Also, this song is more playful and fun, got more of a pop sound than any of the prior songs had. It's still got a dance sound to it with the pop music, so it's nice now. And the video does well with timing as well as trying to match the lyrics, though not all that great at it. Misty and Brock make a return in this season, as Ash and the other, give me a second, got tongue-tied. Misty and Brock make a return in this season, as Ash and the school he's attending that study Pokemon and different ideas about them actually go on a field trip to Professor Oak's lab in the Kanto region. Ash initially wasn't a big fan of this because they were going back to Kanto, a region he was from, so what's the point of going somewhere you already been and know about? But he gets hyped up when it talks about they were going to do something special. And during this, it turns out that the idea was for Misty and Brock to actually battle with them, as the Alola region's not known for having Pokemon battles, but instead like these trials that people go through. But there's no like Pokemon battling or Pokemon League there when it starts. And they do this thing where it allows the students to challenge them any way they want. Well, some of them challenge Misty, others challenge Brock, and then it comes down with Ash and one of the main male characters known as Kuwei challenging Brock, whereas Ash challenges Misty. Kuwei gets into this fight with him and ends up losing, and it turns out Misty and Brock have Mega Evolution, whereas Ash and Kuwei have their Z moves to use. And Misty is revealed to actually have a Gyarados in this one, which I find interesting as well, because she was terrified of those things when the original series was airing, with good reason actually. But I'll get to that also in a little bit. Anyways, with this one, like I said, they have Brock. When Misty challenges Ash, she gets him trapped in a situation where it looks like he isn't going to have a chance. And he uses what Brock referred to as outside-the-box thinking in order to prove why he was such a good trainer. Season 21 is Sun and Moon Ultra Adventures, where it is still taking place in the Alola region. This one has a better story arc, as it actually deals with a certain issue that comes to be known and explain why one of the characters in the series was so afraid of Pokemon when this certain region series, when season 20, when it first began, why she was so afraid of Pokemon in general and couldn't even touch them because she was so afraid. But later in it, she came to have a Vulpix in the original, in season 20. But in this one, it explores that background and explains why she was actually so afraid and what happened. Also, the song seems to be mirrored when it does. The title of this, like I said, the title is Sun and Moon Ultra Adventures. The title of the song is Under the Alolan Moon. Episodes 979 through 1031. And the song in this one seems to be trying to mirror modern hip-hop and R&B styling, which, personally, I'm not a fan of the modern versions. I prefer the ones from the 90s and some of the 80s and the early 2000s. It seems like as it went on, it became more about, here, we're going to try and repeat this, repeat that line, not really try to come up with actual lyrics or anything. And the music just went downhill. The video tried nicely to match the lyrics, though I'm not exactly sure because, like I said, I was not a fan of the song in this one because of the way it was done, of how much it actually matched up, and I really couldn't understand the lyrics in this song. Was another reason why I wasn't a fan. Now, for season 22, which I have not seen personally, it is Sun and Moon Ultra Legends. The song used is called Challenge of Life, and it's episodes 1032 through 1085. And the song seems to be reflective of the style used in Lilo and Stitch or tribal movie scenes, where you get the beat of the drums and singing involved. But it actually works nicely. And I actually look forward to seeing this at some point because I'm hoping Netflix adds it so I can see it and see how they actually ended this one. And this is the last season to take place in the Alola region. The video, I couldn't decide if it fit or not because it appeared like it tried to, but at other times it didn't appear to match almost at all with the lyrics as they were being presented. Now, I'm going to present to you my top 10 in the English version of the Pokemon themes. Number 10, Season 2's theme of Pokemon World, the Orange Islands adventures. Number 9, The Battle Frontier, which is Season 9. Number 8, Season 8, The Advanced Battle. The song title was Unbeatable. Number 7, Season 3, The Johto Journeys, Pokemon Johto. Number 6 is Season 12's Galactic Battles theme of Battle Cry, parentheses, Stand Up. Number 5, Season 4's opening. Season 4, the Johto League Champions opening theme, Born to be a Winner. Season 4, not Season 4, number 4 on my list. Season 11, the Battle Dimension theme, We Will Be Heroes. Number 3, Season 7, the Advanced Challenge theme of This Dream. And number 2 on the list is Season 5's theme from Season 5 Master Quest theme, Believe in Me. And number 1 on the list, the original Pokemon theme from Season 1. Now I've got another top 10 list. Well, I got a top 9 list, actually. And originally I was going to try and make this 10, but I couldn't. And I'm going to talk about the Pokemon from the series that I actually liked. Or ones that or the Pokemon that I enjoy the most. And I'll even explain why as well. And maybe a little background. Number 9 on the list is Bulbasaur. I liked him from the series. Bulbasaur first joined in the first season, but left somewhere during Season 3 or 4. Although he didn't actually leave Ash, he left to work at Professor Oak's lab. Sort of like a bodyguard of sorts. But anyways, what I enjoyed about Bulbasaur was his attitude. First, he was tough, and it was hard to get him to change his mind. He was known to fight for his friends, or those he considered his friends or he cared about. He believes in equality rather than playing favorites when it comes to certain, as seen when he works at Professor Oak's lab. And all of the Pokemon on Professor Oak's lab, that come there, actually seem to trust him and believe in him more than anything, and I think that's the reason why. He also is one of the few to actually refuse to evolve into his next evolution. As seen in Season 1, when a lot of the Pokemon that were Ivysaur and Bulbasaur went to this location at one time, and their bulbs on their back, or the flower, whatever you want to call it, on their back lit up glowingly. It glowed basically. And they would then evolve into whatever the next level was, whether it was the Ivysaur, where the Bulbasaurs became Ivysaurs, or Ivysaurs became Venusaurs. But Bulbasaur, however, was different. He actually fought it to stay the same because he liked who he was. He just wanted to be there for the actual festival. And he even took a lashing by the Venusaur that was there because he was refusing to evolve. And he believed he was right to not evolve. But also, when Bulbasaur went to Professor Oak's lab, he went there because they were having issues with Pokemon fighting over land. Well, Bulbasaur came up with the idea to get some Pokemon to help him out to build this new area so that they could stop the fighting. Only the fighting got worse. Well, eventually Bulbasaur convinced him not to fight anymore, and even though he had to get tough with a lot of them at times. But when Bulbasaur went to leave, suddenly they started fighting. So Bulbasaur came back, and he ended up staying there after that. Which is how Bulbasaur didn't appear out very often after that on the travels in Hoenn and the other regions. But instead, when shown, he was actually at Professor Oak's lab. Because he became like the peacekeeper there. Ninetales is a fox Pokemon. A fire type in most regions, though Alola has a ice type as the previous form of it that evolves into Ninetales is a Vulpix. And Ninetales is actually based off of a legend. I'm not sure if it's just Japan that has this or if it's other Asian countries that do as well. But there's the Ninetales, the Gumiho in Korea, and I forget what China calls it. But anyways, the idea is it's a fox that gets like a magic power of sorts or a psychic power of sorts. And the longer it lives, the more tails it grows. But it takes a century for each extra tail to grow. Upon reaching the 1000th year, when it gets the 9th tail, it gets this choice. It can it can try to give up its power to find love by becoming human. Or at least in one version of a story they used, it had this. The other version is that the creature can actually make itself look human, and when the human sees its true form, it's because the thing devours it. However, if you're following the story of the romantic version, the creature the Ninetales can try to give up its tails to become human and find love. However, if the love is thought to be true and they give it up, and then it's found that the person cheats on them or isn't really in love with them, the creature will kill them and revert back to its true form. There was actually a series based on this called Gumiho. There's a comedy one called My Girlfriend or My Wife, I can't remember which one it says, is a nine-tailed fox, or a Gumiho. But Pokemon actually used the legend of the Ninetales in an episode where Ash, Misty, and Brock come upon this house. It's in the original season of it. They come upon this house and there's this woman there. Well, they suddenly see a Ninetales there and they think and they just know that belongs to the owner. Well, eventually they find out Brock is falling in love with this woman head over heels and wanting to stay. Misty and Ash end up looking into it and find out that the previous owner of this house looks exactly like Brock and might have actually, which to me says it might have been an ancestor of Brock's. But anyways, when they're looking at it, it turns out this photo was taken this painting was done centuries ago. So there's no way he could be alive. So then they're confused as to how the woman's there. Turns out it's the Ninetales psychic power being used to create the illusion of the woman in order to try and trick Brock into staying. But when they talk about it and they actually, in the end, convince the Ninetales to move on, Brock's a little heartbroken because he can't have the woman, but at the same time, he feels sorry for the Ninetales itself. Okay, number 7 on the list, Gyarados, the dragon Pokemon. It's used in multiple episodes, and what's really interesting is Misty is initially afraid of it, but by the Alolan episodes, she has one as one of her Pokemon, and is actually friends with it, and likes it. And to me, the Gyarados actually kind of matches Misty, as while it looks scary at times, it's generally a peaceful creature, as long as you don't make it mad. But when it gets mad, it's just like Misty when she gets angry. And it's very dangerous. One thing I found interesting is that the Magikarp to Gyarados evolution is actually based on a real legend as well, like the Ninetales was. But in the anime, the Gyarados has so many legends thrown around, so many stories that are told about it, that we don't know what the true legend behind it is. One, which is brought up in the Alola region, is that it destroyed a town that made it angry. Another was in the original when this Magikarp that James got, which he got tricked because the fish can't even swim, oddly enough. It actually almost drowns. Well, James got really angry, kicked it into the water. Well, when it went into the ocean, James mistreating it actually made it angry enough that it evolved. Well, when it evolved, he got very angry, and suddenly what looked like a normal sky suddenly became storms and violence around them, and it was very angry. Well, turns out, according to Misty, old fishermen used to tell stories about this, and it was dragon rage being used, which caused massive destruction. But actually, the true... Now, I'm going to tell you the real story from what I've heard of the legend of the Magikarp to Gyarados and what it's based on. Now, I've heard two different versions of this story, but both have to deal with the same issue. In one version, it's an actual carp that evolves eventually, and in the other version, it's a koi fish. But anyways, the story goes, whichever type it is trying to return home to spawn or lay its eggs. But there's a waterfall blocking the way, and it's part of this big group. Well, initially they try to climb it, but a lot of them give up after a while and go find somewhere else to spawn. Or they just give up on the idea of spawning altogether and just go back out to sea. But this one, it kept trying and kept getting distance at times. Well, after 1,000 years of trying, it transforms into a dragon. And this beautiful dragon, and flies away. So it never actually does what it initially came there to do, but instead, because it was so impressive, it actually got transformed into this, it changed into something better and flew off, although it's unknown what happened to it afterwards. Number 6, Gastly. In general, I'm not a big fan of this one, but it is actually a good one for this particular episode, which dealt with the Ghost of Maiden's Peak in the original Pokemon series. The first season. Gastly pretends to be the spirit of a woman who died waiting for her love to return. As well as this old woman who's trying to help Ash and Team Rocket to save James and Brock because they're in love with this spirit of this beautiful woman, though they've never met her and don't know anything about her. Turns out this beautiful woman's spirit is supposed to be that of... Let's see, I forget what they call them, but it's a death spirit. Basically, it lures men to their deaths when they come under the spell. One of the things I found funny about this episode is Misty, at one point, when they're trying to stop the Gastly from taking James and Brock, pulls a wooden stake on it. And it looks at her confused and goes, "What is that?" He goes, she tells him, "It's a wooden stake. I've also got garlic and a well, actually, she pulled a crucifix on it. And, well, she pulled a cross because, you know, U.S. has to edit stuff. Well, she pulled a cross on him. When he asked what it was, she said a cross. Then she shows that she's got a steak and garlic. And Gastly looks at her all confused, got the little sweat drop rain down his head going, "I'm not a vampire." But then he notices that the sun is rising. He goes, "I may not be a vampire, but I do hate sunlight." And it's revealed during this episode that Gastly, that the ghost is actually real and is friends with Gastly. And that Gastly has been returning every year to make money at the ceremony as both the ghost and the woman. But when it's revealed that the ghost is real, Gastly states that if he does happen across the maiden's love, he'll tell her that I mean, he'll tell the person that this woman's waiting on him, and she thanks him. But due to the woman being real and the way Ghastly has returned every year, this gave me my own theory for the series. I mean, for this particular episode, that the Ghastly in it, instead of just being a Pokemon, might actually be the spirit of the lost love. But as a ghost, it has no memory from when it was alive. And so, unlike the maiden who pines for her true love, Ghastly doesn't realize that he's the one she's looking for. And so he keeps traveling, doing what he does. Number 5, Haunter. Haunter is a ghost that when Ash goes to battle Sabrina in Lavender Town, I think that's what it is Lavender Town. But the ghost actually lives in Lavender Town. I know that for certain. But Sabrina's a gym leader who uses psychic Pokemon. Well, during the first season, the only way to beat psychic Pokemon was to have a ghost Pokemon. Haunter, unlike Ghastly, who's just a ball with eyes and a mouth, Haunter has hands and a face, and even like a little spiked head looking thing going on. And it's the evolution of Ghastly. Although in this episode, Haunter's already Haunter. It meets Ash and has fun. Well, Ash gets it to come along to help defeat Sabrina so that he can earn the badge that they need for it, in order for him to compete in the Pokemon League Championships in Kanto. Well, all 3 forms are seen. But to me, the ghosts could actually be seen as a representation of loneliness, since nobody plays with them, and all they have is each other, but they're bored. And they're dead, so anybody who actually sees the ghosts are actually scared and run off. So for them, it doesn't work. So like I said, it's a form of loneliness. Which leads me into number 4, the Abra and Kadabra. Sabrina's Pokemon, the psychic gym leader. She starts out with an Abra in the series, and it's the only one she uses. Well, the thing is that it evolves into a Kadabra and an Alakazam. Yeah, it's got the magic word deal going on for its name. But what's interesting is, when it evolves, the Kadabra and Alakazam actually led to Pokemon being sued by somebody who stated that these 2 evolutionary forms were blatantly based on him, and he never got asked about it, so they were using his likeness without permission, because his thing was bending spoons. To me, this was a frivolous lawsuit and somebody just out to try and make money, because they saw how well Pokemon was going over. Because Kadabra's ability, and Alakazam's as well, they hold the spoons. They don't actually bend them in it. They hold the spoons like they're going to bend it. But Abra and Alakazam I didn't actually like, because all he really did was grow this weird beard and have 2 spoons in his hands. Kadabra had 1 spoon, no beard, and actually looked closer to Abra in a lot of ways. But anyway, Sabrina and Abra, to me, hold on a second, I got tongue-tied again. Okay, Sabrina was a psychic gym leader who had a connection with Abra through her psychic ability. That's how they talked and how they connected. But one thing I think this show also did was explored psychological issues as to the reason why Sabrina seemed to hold this little doll that actually spoke, which, as it turns out, isn't a little doll. It's actually Sabrina's inner child, so to speak. Well, little Sabrina, as I call her, the one that actually looks like a doll's, is Sabrina's inner desire, the one who wants to make friends. Well, part of the deal is that those who lose to her have become her hostages, so to speak, and she even took her mother hostage and turned her into like this little doll so that they would never leave and she'd always have somebody to play with. So she's lone. So to me, little Sabrina is lonely and wanting to meet others. Like I said, the treatment of the parents also comes up as Sabrina's father actually runs away due to his fear of Sabrina's powers, but also he's wanting to help her and he doesn't know how. The mother, however, was turned into a doll and is stuck in this house that they made, though she doesn't blame her daughter and she just wants her to have help and be able to make friends as well. And the adult Sabrina is so focused on the gym leader idea and training a Pokemon and her psychic abilities so much that little Sabrina was actually created as a side effect of her powers and her ignoring the human side of her. And this side, and the adult Sabrina is so serious, she has almost no emotions. And guessing that a lot of those emotions were actually put into little Sabrina, which is why little Sabrina can laugh and feel sad at times. And to me, this could be the idea that Freud suggested of the id, the ego, and the superego, whereas Sabrina herself is the id, the controlling personality of sorts. But the superego, the one who's, well, actually, I'm sorry. The id would be little Sabrina, the inner child, the one who wants to make friends. It's the desires. The ego, which is the middle ground, would be the gym leader side of her. The one who wants to win, but at the same time gets to meet people. Then there's the superego, which is adult Sabrina, who wants to be left alone with her powers and with Abra to develop them. Well, in this episode, Haunter ends up helping Ash to win against him by causing Sabrina to actually start laughing. The adult Sabrina. When the adult Sabrina starts laughing, the inner child is resolved. And the problems that they had is the thing. Well, it turns out, by her laughing due to their psychic connection, the Abra, which has evolved into an Alakazam by this time, or a Kadabra. I can't remember if it actually evolved fully into Alakazam or not. Sorry about that. But anyways, when it evolved, it's now laughing just as hard as she is, and it's rolling on the floor from all its laughing. Initially, it looks like it's in pain, but Ash is told it's not in pain, it's laughing because Sabrina's laughing. It's happy. And this actually gives Ash the win, which in turn leads to Brock and Misty being returned to their adult forms, as well as the mother and anybody else that Sabrina had turned into a doll or affected in some way. Number 3 on the list, the Charmander that Ash picks up in all its forms, actually. It's Ash's Pokemon from the original through Master Quest, which is Season 5. The backstory and the growth of the character is what drew me to this, because originally Charmander didn't belong to Ash. It was abandoned by its trainer, and it was out there waiting on it to return, though the trainer had no initial idea to return, no plan to return. It was going to let it die because it saw Charmander as being too weak and stupid for believing him that he was going to return. Ash in return, well, initially Brock gets angry, but Ash ends up saving its life by keeping it warm all night. Well, then Charmander joined. Well, when Charmander evolved into its second form, the Charmeleon, instead of being all friendly and caring and listening to Ash, it instead took on this angry attitude, kind of like a rebellious teenager, which to me reflected what had happened to it when it was younger with the abandonment issues. So it developed an ability where it wanted to fight against them and leave and be rebellious. Well, when it evolved into a Charizard, because it hadn't outgrown this yet, it got even worse and did even less to listen to Ash, and only battled when it thought it wanted to battle or it sensed a strong opponent. But at one point, Charizard gets beat to where it's actually frozen and almost dies, while Ash again stays with it, keeps it warm, and helps it to grow. I mean, it helps it to heal. After this, Charizard started listening, and they actually became closer, and Ash eventually was able to form a bond with it. Until the point they reached the I think they call it the Charrific Valley, but it's an area that's known to inhabit to Charizards. And Charizard actually falls in love with one of the female Charizards there, and ends up leaving the region. Though he does return when Ash competes in the Johto League Championships. Number 2 on the list, Umbreon. This one, I liked its color and style because it's got black, because it's the color of night, black, and it's got like little yellow rings around it that glow. It's a dark type Pokemon. This one was the one in the game, in the little phone app game of Pokemon Go. I worked the hardest to get the evolution of because I loved the way it looked and I liked its abilities. I even named it Nightshade, and personally, I think it's one of the greatest evolutions of Eevee that they have. Because I've seen some of them, and I'm like, why did they come up with this? But Umbreon, I think, was a good idea for a dark Pokemon, because I think it actually kind of fits with the way it works. Number 1 on my list for the Pokemon, for my Pokemon favorites, Pikachu. It's my favorite in the series. Though originally, I found out it was, and some may still not know this, though it is common knowledge a lot. It was not originally meant to be the icon for Pokemon. They actually had a different one in mind altogether. It's just a lot of people liked it and it caught on for some reason. And it caught on. This was actually Ash's first Pokemon in the series, instead of the traditional starter of Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle. And the reason why this happened is that night before he was supposed to go pick up the Pokemon, he couldn't sleep. So he started watching instructional video and dreaming of what it was going to be like to be a Pokemon trainer already. But when he went to sleep, he woke up late, and he was the last one to show up to pick up his Pokemon. And actually, Professor Oak tried to talk him out of it, because Pikachu was known to be a little rough. Though Oak didn't explain what this roughness was that he tended to have. But Ash would later find out. Sorry. And the thing that attracted me to Pikachu was his attitude. He starts out rough and eventually grows to trust and form bonds with others. But when it first starts out, Ash has him by, because he refuses to get into the Pokeball. And Ash thinks all Pokemon are supposed to stay in their Pokeball. And Pikachu points to the Pokedex, and it reads out that not all Pokemon will, because they actually hate the idea of the enclosement. Well, Ash, in order to form a bond with it, to try and form a bond with Pikachu and show that he actually wants to be friends with him, has dragged Pikachu for a long time when it wasn't in the Pokeball by a rope. Well, he unties him from this rope and lets him free. Well, the thing that gets Pikachu to actually trust Ash is the fact that when Ash hits this, what he thought was a Pidgey originally, he threw a stone and it turns out it's a Spearow who's very temperamental. And this Spearow happens to have some friends, a whole group of them, along with a Fearow, the evolved form of Spearow. Well, these things are very temperamental, and they actually go to attack Ash and Pikachu. Ash, trying to protect Pikachu, gains its trust, and when Pikachu gets angry during this episode, he actually gets so powered up that he causes a thunderstorm to appear and uses the attack thunder to strike them all and scare them away. But in the process, he hits himself and Ash. And also, while they were running from these creatures, they ran across Misty and stole her bike, which, when Pikachu used Thunder, toasted the bike completely. But again, after this, Ash and Pikachu went on to form a bond, which lasted as Pikachu became the only Pokemon to travel with him to every region. Pikachu also had an attitude when he went up against against the gym leader, Lieutenant Surge, who used Raichu, the evolved form of Pikachu, as his main Pokemon because of its power in lightning, in electric attacks. Well, they gave Ash this option. He can use the Thunderstone, but once he does, Pikachu won't be able to go back to being Pikachu because it would force the evolution. Well, Ash looks at Pikachu and tells him the choice is up to him because Pikachu's the one who will have to live with it because he didn't want to win. He didn't want to force Pikachu to evolve just to win a match. Just to win a badge. It wouldn't be right. Because he'd be no better than Surge in that aspect. Pikachu ends up slapping the stone away and telling him that, well, he tells him in the Pikachu language, since the only Pokemon that can talk in the series apparently is Meowth and Mewtwo. But when Pikachu actually speaks to him during this little rant, he tells him that he will defeat Raichu as a Pikachu because it's his pride that's on the line, not just to win a badge, but to prove that he is just as good and that Surge was wrong in what he said. So, tell me, what was your favorite theme song from the Pokemon series? The English or from the other versions? And I'll even look those up if you actually tell me which ones you like that were from the foreign ones, including the original Japanese versions. Also, what's your favorite Pokemon or Pokemon episode? Like I said, leave all these in the comments, as well as what you think I should do for an upcoming video. Till next time.